Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another Football Manager experiment, where today we'll be taking a look at what would happen if Red Bull took over a club in London. Of course, it's Red Bull London. Before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any more experiments like this. But today it is Red Bull London we'll be taking a look at. They've taken over a club in the Vanarama National League South, and it's time to see how they'd get on. Can they do what they do in Germany, in Austria, and in America, Brazil as well, and develop young players, get good stuff going on for them. Of course, they've got some great youth recruitment. Their facilities have been upgraded from, obviously, the team that was originally here. Taking a look at some of the players, you can see the kind of hot prospect is Andrew C.D. Harris. He's one of those players that's certainly to note. And then, of course, you've also got James Dayton, who is their current big player. But, of course, like I say, they are in the Vanarama National South. They have, in fact, taken over from... Who have they taken over from? I believe it's Dulwich Hamlet. They're not in there, are they? Yeah, so Dulwich. So they've bought the club out. They've straight up just gone, no, we're Red Bull London now, and we're going from there. So we'll see how they get on. They've got all the players and all the staff that they would have had at the club of Dulwich Hamlet. They've literally just brought them all over to the club. You can see there, they're all there. But it's time to see how they'd get on in the years. Obviously, they've got the under-23s and under-18s as well. But let's jump ahead, take a look. They're in Red Bull Arena, so they've got a stadium that's been built in London, which is massive for the level they're at. They're predicted to come first. They're rich financially. Reputation's good because obviously they're Red Bull, very, very highly promoted. But let's jump ahead and take a look how they get on. So it's been 1 year and they won the league. They're top of the league. It looks like they might have brought in a couple of players. Playing a 4-2-3-1. Gavin Rose still in charge. Youth facilities looking good. Recruitment's looking good as well, of course. Let's take a look at the league. How did they get on in the league with regards to winning it? They absolutely smashed it, only losing 3 games. They must have brought in a few players, I'm sure, because I don't think Dulwich would have done that well otherwise. But sitting top, 40 games played, 99 points overall. So quite the result. They're obviously smashing things in that department. With that said, they've also it looks like they've also won the National Under-18s League as well with the players that they've got. So let's take a look at transfers. That's probably the best way to go about it. 425,000 was spent on transfers, with bringing in the likes of Aaron Nemain from Notts County. You've got Harrison Ashby from West Ham, a few names in there as well. You got Alan Chapchet from, I believe, well, he's former Saints Academy player, so he's come into the side. You've got Ali Alhamdi. I mean, there's plenty of players in here that they've signed from multiple clubs on frees, all that sort of thing, and they've only released or got rid of Michael Timlin, who's gone off to Waterford. So they brought in a lot of players, spent 425,000, which is more than any other club in the division. And you can see they've got a hell of a lot of players there. But they won the league. That's how it should work. If you bring in those players, you've got to make it work, and they certainly did. So with that, let's take a look at their schedule. How did they get on in the first season in the division with other competitions? We can see that they got to the FA Trophy third round, getting knocked out by Barnet. And the FA Cup, they got knocked out by Harrogate in the first round. So, could be worse. Could have done worse in the competitions that they were in. Didn't have a great start to time. But they did, in fact, play the likes of Juventus, Notts County, Leipzig, West Ham. So, they played a lot of teams from all over the place, which is very, very interesting. Maybe that's their connections they've got with the promotion and reputation. But with that, we'll jump ahead again, see if they can continue to rise up the leagues and how they get on. Okay, so we're in 2025. We can see they haven't actually got a manager anymore, and they're currently in Sky Bet League 2. Let's take a look at their history. So we can see they got the promotion. They finished second in the National League, but didn't actually get promoted. Must have lost on kind of the playoffs and ended up winning the league the next season. So they're in League 2 currently. with that said, they ended up finishing 9th in League Two. So they've got a little bit of work to do to climb up the division a bit more. But I'm sure there's plenty of time for them to do that. Absolutely. We can see here anyway, Jordi Hurula has come in, the Angolan international now. Elliot Osborne, you've got Ian Howe. Let's take a look at Joel. Oh, I thought it was Joel Ward. I was like, oh, interesting signing. Transfer history. Let's take a look. We can see if we go back a couple of years. So that was the year we saw 500k here spent. I mean, that's a lot of change. Big one was Romany Critchlow, who's come in, still at the club, which is nice. A centre-half, Romello Mitchell, coming in from Southampton. He's still here at the side as well. So a few players coming in for a good amount of money. They've also sold a few players. Harrison Ashby being the big one for a good chunk of change as well. Going on to the next year, 275,000 spent. Not quite as much. But hey, still a good amount of money. But then 1.2 million was spent in the next one. George Thomason was the player that they spent it on from Bolton. Centre midfielder, looks pretty well rounded, but only played 13 games in the season for him. But a few players being loaned out this year anyway. So it looks like they've got a hell of a lot of players in the squad. How's their under 23s doing? Plenty of players in there. And under 18s as well, of course. There's loads from all over the world there with the international atmosphere. Of course, they are a club with great affiliates as well. They've got the affiliations with Bragantino in Brazil, Salzburg, New York Red Bulls, Leipzig, and Red Bull Brazil. So they've got all of those sort of benefits of having those connections. So it's also influenced, obviously, how they've gone on and performed. But sitting in League Two, we'll have to see how they carry on and develop. Looking at competitions most recently, reached the second, third round in the Papa John's Trophy, losing to Leyton Orient. FA Cup, losing in the second round to Oxford. I mean, that's not much of a progress, although they actually won the FA Trophy last year. They were in the Panorama National League, which is quite good. So they have got another trophy there. FA Cup second round, though, for Wimbledon, so nothing too substantial. But there you go. FA Trophy, National League South, National League. It's time to see if they can rise up again. Let's jump ahead and take a look. All right, here we are. Another 5 years in 2040. So we're a good chunk on now. Not going to be many players that you'll recognise in there. But Han Noah Masengo is the manager of the club, which is interesting. Youth recruitment is unknown. That's a bit weird. Exceptional youth recruitment, though. Bit weird. Maybe they're just so good at recruiting youth that that's all they need to do. But one thing I have noticed, looking in the bottom corner, is there's been a bit of promotion and relegation for them. So we saw them finish 21st. They ended up then finishing 18th, got relegated in 23rd, spent a couple of years in League One fighting for promotion in the playoffs, then came second to get promoted, finished 8th, then 12th, then got relegated from the Championship, and then has just recently bounced straight back up, winning the league, and in fact finished in 6th place in their first year back in the Championship. Since coming back in the Championship, I should say. And from that, unfortunately, they did lose in the playoffs, but that's quite a turnaround. They've done very well to get that far. Let's take a look at how they got on in the playoffs. So they lost to Burnley, drew 3-0 in the first leg, lost 2-1 in the second, but they did okay in the FA Cup, reaching the 5th round against Norwich. Nothing spectacular there. And lost in the second round against Bristol City in the Carabao Cup. But let's take a look at transfers. That's what we want to see. We're all interested in this. This is what we want to know, is how much money are they spending? I've shot back and time to see. So 1.7 million there. If we go on, 4.7 million spent, but 16.25 brought in. I mean, wow. Okay, one of the academy players is obviously very, very good. Maybe if they'd have been able to keep hold of some of these players a bit more, they might have been able to get some more out of them. But 16 million for Jake Wood is very, very good. Along with that, 17 million brought in here for Ngoe and Wolfenden. but 3.8 million spent. They're not spending the same amount as they're bringing in, that's for sure. Maybe that's kind of their issue they're having. They are still bringing in a lot of players, though. 10 million spent, though, here in the 2039-40 season, where we obviously saw they finished in 6th place. So that's obviously helped them to some extent getting that high up. But Lionel Brown is their best player in that aspect. Okay. Who is their best player? You've got Stephen Willis. He's 21. He's come through the academy, and he does actually look half decent. Let's say that. Reading and Wolves won him. 9 caps, 3 goals, 35 goals and 82 appearances overall for them. Certainly a half decent player. Would be a very interesting save to do with all the connections you've got and all that sort of thing. A bit of a shame we didn't see them get promoted, but if you would like to see further into the future, let me know. We can see if they do make it to the Premier League. They've obviously had a bit of a stutter recently, but hitting 6th, there's obviously positive notes to take from that. But let me know in the comments. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well, and I will catch you in the next one.